Greetings, everyone. Welcome to the 3DO Experience, the only podcast in the world that discusses the 3DO and all the things that surround it. Thank you all for sticking in. I am the co-host Thrak, and joining me, as always, is the other co-host Bill. Bill, how you doing?
I'm doing. I guess is the best way to say it.
Doing
Uh,
who?
yeah, no one, unfortunately. Yeah, just having one of those. Just got back from a long weekend, and the company I work for is run by morons. So,
Okay, because I thought it was you enjoyed your weekend too much, your 4-day weekend or whatever.
honestly, it rained like every day, and I did like literally nothing the entire weekend. It kind of sucked, honestly.
Eh. So sometimes you need to just stay inside,
True,
So
very true.
it's just a state of mind.
Yeah. How about you though? Have you been doing anything new or?
Last week I talked about my back issues, and I can safely say I went to the doctor. They prescribed me some medication, and it's been helping greatly. So I've been able to like actually go back to work and not be in agonizing pain all the time, which is really good. So
That's good.
yeah, and I've been doing some game trading. Bought some stuff, sold some stuff. And I did get this game because I had remembered it is getting delisted very soon. I believe December 15th of this year, this game is getting delisted. So if you have any interest in it, I recommend picking it up now. That is Forza Horizon 4.
Huh.
So, well, car licenses run out,
Yeah.
because if you go on Game Pass, I think it's off Game Pass now. I'd have to double check. But that's kind of the issue with the Forza series is that they're on Game Pass or they're available for a while, but then they disappear because of that. Yet for some reason, the original Forza Horizon is backwards compatible, disc only, but yet none of the other Forzas are, outside of the ones you can play on Xbox One and Series, which is strange. But I've been playing this one a little bit. I think it's a reprinted one because it has the Series X advertising on it. Because this didn't
Most
come out when the
likely.
Series X came out. This came out 2018. Is that right?
I believe so. Around
Okay.
there.
Yeah, and this game's very good. It's taken a lot for me to not just play this. It's very good. It'll be a game I keep popping in and playing a little bit more of here and there. I finished up the Power Wash DLC. There was another Power Wash DLC about
Nice.
Alice in Wonderland, which kind of out there, but not a bad choice. I enjoyed the maps and the kind of more creative nature of them, and they didn't last ridiculously long because I think one of the issues, say some of the previous DLCs had, was they would just be too long or like be too detailed in certain things that you'd have to wash, and you strike a fine line in that game of wanting things to clean and take a fair amount of time, but if it goes too long it gets kind of annoying. But the Alice one, like when I finished it last night, I was like, oh shit, it's done.
Nice.
So yeah, so now I'm at like almost 120 hours in that game.
That's like me in a Persona 4 playthrough.
Yeah, and I even have like over half of the achievements. So
Nice.
a lot of them are very easy to get. There's a few that are really, if I had known them when I first did the job, because some of them are like, oh, clean this very specific thing last. It's like, had I known that when I first did the playthrough, I would have saved it and probably have had more of them, but I don't feel like going back and getting them. So,
That's
but
understandable.
yeah, so that, and still working on Doom Eternal. So I'm at the part where they're like, oh, this is the last time you can go to your little ship before you do the final thing. So I'm in that final stretch now. So hopefully I'll have that done by this week because I also got to hit the DLCs and all that. So, but have you been playing anything, Billy?
A little bit. So I've been actually in the process of writing an article for the Superpod Network, and I've been playing a lot of Atlas games lately.
Aren't you always playing Atlas games?
I'm playing one particular Atlas game a lot.
Okay.
But
You-
we're doing some lists, basically doing our top 5 Atlas games. If anyone knows me, my number 1 is pretty obvious. But yeah, I
Catherine.
was oh, no. It's
Catherine's a good game.
no, I know it's not in my top 5, but I do love Catherine. Particularly, I really liked Full Body. Um, I've been playing a lot of the Trauma Center series again. One of
Oh,
Atlas's.
that's a good fucking series of games.
It's like Atlas's like forgotten like gem that like was so big, and unfortunately technology just kind of left it behind.
It was perfect for the Wii and DS era.
Hmm.
And it's one of those series you think, how could they do it again? I mean, they could be on PC, of course, but for any other console, it would be difficult to transition those over to like a traditional control
I was actually
setup.
thinking about it, and it would suck because you'd have to buy one of the damn things to play it. But I actually feel like it would actually work as a good VR game.
Yeah, it would, but I don't think Atlas is willing to divulge assets for a VR game, which is kind of the
No,
big issue with the VR industry in general.
I think the plus to Trauma Center 2 was like they weren't really expensive games to make, because like you didn't need like the most insane graphics for like what they were doing in those games. Like the was perfectly capable, and like 50% of the game is visual novel anyways, so it's like
Yeah, it's a visual novel with like essentially surgery mini games.
yeah, it's like an arcade surgery simulation series.
Yeah. It's like Time Crisis with a scalpel.
Trauma Team though, that was like by far like the best one, because that's where they went like all out, and they had like all the different medical like fields that you could do. It was basically like Sonic Adventure if it was a surgery game. Like you got the 5 different stories, and they all come together at the end for this bigger story.
Yeah.
It's an interesting way of putting it, but it's kind of the same.
Yeah, I think the most I played was the DS one, Under the Knife, because
Oh,
that
the original.
because that game, well, that style is perfect for the DS.
Hmm.
And as far as I know, it never got a 3DS like upgrade.
So Trauma Center Under the Knife did get remade as Trauma Center Second Opinion on the Wii.
Yeah.
Under the Knife 2 did not. It's also kind of weird because like Under the Knife 2 is a direct sequel to the final chapter of Under the Knife 1, which was completely erased in Second Opinion. But then like Trauma Team uses elements from Second Opinion. I don't know. Atlas is weird.
Yes, they are. And they're at a spot where I don't think they can like create different teams to do all these types of games. Because if they were to bring back Trauma Center, I think people would want it to have more production. And
Probably.
I think part of the charm of it is it doesn't have a lot of production. Like it has just enough to get its point across, but it's not a super expensive game.
I'll always remember Trauma Center as the series that legit has a point in one of the cases where a suicidal girl literally gets told by the nurse to just kill herself. And I was like, oh, this is a wonderful game.
That sounds like an Atlas move.
Yeah, it's just like such a like, okay then.
Mm-hmm.
But she wasn't actually suicidal. She just had zombie cancer or whatever the hell the guilt or whatever it was called.
If I had a nickel for every time I've had zombie cancer. So, and the creator of the Trauma Center series, Katsura Hashino, I think I said that right. They're currently directing the next major Atlas game, Metaphor ReFantasio.
Oh, that's cool. I'm
Yeah.
looking forward to that. It looks pretty interesting.
I am curious to it. It's not going to be a day one buy for me, most likely not. I mean, in October, we'll see where things are in October, but I will be curious to all of your guys' opinions because I trust yours when it comes to RPGs. So, I mean, it looks really cool, but you know, I have a feeling it's going to be probably closer to like Shin Megami than Persona when it comes to like having the balance of JRPG and like social sim stuff. But it's going to have more of a Persona style combat system. Like, I don't think it's going to be like an SMT brutally hard game. But I don't think it's going to be a Persona where you have to spend dozens of hours just chatting with people about bullshit you don't care about. So So, I mean, who knows? It might actually be the game for me, but we'll see.
Or it'll be another Tokyo Mirage Sessions and be like, what is this?
I like Tokyo Mirage Sessions.
Oh no, it's a great game.
Come on.
It's a great game. It's just not what we thought it was going to be at all.
Well, I think a lot of people, there it is for you, the Switch version. I think a lot of people, well, it was originally what, SMT Cross Fire Emblem?
Yeah, and I thought it was going to be a tactical game.
Yeah, because that idea sparks a lot of interesting ideas. Apparently, Atlas, they made a tactical game at first, and then they presented it to Intelligent Systems, and Intelligent Systems said, make a turn-based game.
Intelligent Systems bothers the fuck out of me sometimes. They make some of my favorite games, but then they also make some of the dumbest fucking decisions.
Yeah, I think a lot of that comes down to them not being owned by Nintendo, so they're allowed to make very weird decisions and be okay. I would love if one day they just made a random like PlayStation, Xbox, PC game, and it would confuse everybody because they're like, wait a minute, doesn't Nintendo own them? And it's like, technically no.
I don't think they technically don't, but I think they have an exclusivity deal or something because there's some. I think Nintendo does invest into them, kind of like the Rare situation.
It's probably what it is, like a second party developer.
Yeah, it was probably similar to how like Alpha Dream was basically a Nintendo studio.
Yeah, and then looking at Alpha Dream's catalog, they have made like non-Nintendo stuff.
But it was like few and far between.
Yeah, I mean, everything they've done is released on Nintendo systems, but they've done like Puzzle League games. They did the Dragon Quest Wars DSiWare game, which kind of makes sense.
Tomato Adventure, which is like one of my favorite.
Adventure.
I wish that got localized because damn, that's such an interesting game.
Yeah, and like stuff like Crashmo and the Pushmo series. Yeah, Pushmo is great. And apparently they did do the Thousand Year Door remake, from what I know.
Oh, Intelligence! I thought we were talking about Alpha Dream for a minute.
No, Intelligent Systems did the remake of Thousand Year Door with Tosei helping them out. So, which honestly makes sense because what I've played of the Thousand Year Door remake, I'm like, this feels Intelligent Systems.
Part of me wonders if Tosei did most of the heavy lifting, like all the code and stuff, and then like Intelligent Systems just kind of looked at it and went, "Yep, that." Mm-hmm. Yep.
Or they probably like took the Origami King assets and maybe like retooled them slightly.
So yeah, it is so weird playing that game because it is like legitimately almost identical, but it still feels different at the same time.
Yeah, it's very impressive. It's a fantastic remake.
No, 100%. Yeah. So should we jump into our game per se for this episode?
It is a game, but it is, I mean, to quote the back of the box, this is party game.
Yes.
In fact, I kind of want to read some of these blurbs on the back of the box. For Zhadnost, the People's Party. So this is party game. Now is time to play new television game show. This is best show on Bizarrian state-run television. The humor is good. Peep into secret lives of contestants. Help them fulfill their secret desires. Experience fast-paced head-to-head challenges and unique gameplay unlike any other game on Black Market. This is excellent activity for cold winter nights. Pressure your opponent into difficult tasks, rush to solve puzzles faster, and demonstrate your bourgeois intellect and win capitalist cash. Step carefully to acquire wealth on the money go round. I have issues with the money go round. Also, good opportunity to screw comrades. Good lucks. And that reads like, you know that bit from The Office where Kevin's trying to be like, me say fewer word, save time. Yeah. That's essentially what this is.
This game is really trying. I can't tell if this is like making fun of communism or it's just like I don't know. 3DO was on some weird shit with this game.
This is like comparable to BioShock in terms of its like political commentary. And I don't mean in terms of like it's as good political commentary, though I think BioShock has good political commentary, but which is a whole nother hot topic. But in terms of like, who is this going after? Because I think the original BioShock does a good job of like, you think it's critiquing this when really it's critiquing this. It
Hmm.
kind of does the switcheroo on you. But this doesn't do that. This isn't that smart.
No.
Instead, it's clearly an idea. Like I bet somebody on the team read 1984 and was like, guys, crazy idea, and they made this. That's what it feels like, because the sort of like socialist communist stuff that they reference here is very like George Orwell inspired. Like if you've seen the movie adaptation of 1984, which came out in that same year, it has that kind of visual look to it, you know. But it doesn't really go anywhere, and that's kind of like the issue with it. Even if it's satire, it's not clearly defined like satire. Like is this making fun of game shows? Or is this just like, oh, isn't this silly that a socialist nation would have a capitalist style game show within it? Like, what are you trying to say? But then it's the whole like socialism is when poor, which I'm not going there. We're not doing that today. But instead, we get this very strange game show that is the third in a trilogy. As we've mentioned before, we've covered Twisted, we've covered Station Invasion, and now we've reached the Return of the Jedi of the series, the weakest of the three, in my opinion. Where visually it's very strong, it's very striking. It has kind of a consistent visual look, and it's trying to be different from the other two, which I think is smart. But it ends up not being a super fun game show, and is just like it's just strange. It's like
Yeah.
I guess it's like if you've ever watched somebody trip on acid, you're just very confused, right? And they come out of it like, dude, all this crazy shit happened, and you're like, well, that didn't happen to me. So you don't have that, like probably the people who made this game were like, dude, this is gonna be fucking cool, and it doesn't really come together.
No, like Twisted had a charm to it that like despite being somewhat of a kind of one and done party game, it still had this kind of thing where like the whole time you're playing, you're like, this is fun. I kind of enjoy this.
I think Twisted is so over the top and so outlandish that that's what gives it its charm. That it's not holding back at all. It's like, let's just be the most crazy out there humor, over the top surrealist bullshit we can do, right? Like I think like
Mm.
90s surrealism. And then like Station Invasion had that like that children taking over TV show
And it was more
theme.
educational based. Well,
Yeah,
educational.
it felt like if you've ever watched the game shows Nickelodeon used to put on in the 90s, like Figure It Out or something. It has kind of that energy to it. Whereas this doesn't really carry that through. You know what I mean? Because even like the games, which are very minimal, they're not related to the theme or kind of play into it or anything. And I mean, the game itself doesn't really play into it because you need two people to play this. You
Yeah,
cannot
that's
play this solo.
one thing that bothered the hell out of me in this game is it forces you to have so Twisted, like despite being a multiplayer game, it was like a one controller pass around game, which was annoying, but fine, whatever. This one like requires you to have a second controller plugged in, but then at the same time, like certain actions for the second player can still be done on the player one controller for some reason.
See, I didn't notice that part because I literally had both controllers sitting on my legs
See, I
and was
did
just
too, but
playing them like this, like it was like a keyboard, man.
I would grab the wrong one occasionally and press the button and it would work, and I'd be like, oh, okay. Because I believe like the wheel later on, like you can literally use whatever controller and it just works.
Okay, I never tried that, so
Yeah, it was kind of me shuffling because I had legit both controllers at once. I would forget which one was which, and I'd just grab one, and then I'd be like, "Oh, it worked, cool."
see, what helped for me was the only other controller I have is the Capcom fighting pad. So I knew which was which.
True. I mean, I had the Gold Star and the Panasonic, and I still mixed them up, but that might just be because I was tired and I wasn't really paying attention.
I feel like a lot of the people who made this game weren't paying attention.
Yeah. Um.
There's the
So
official state authorized users manual.
yeah, and we get introduced to our. Well, actually, first things first, I want to ask, what did you think of that opening like cinematic with like the please stand by and then like fucking credits and shit? Like, I was like, what the
And
fuck am I
and
playing?
it's like flipping through like channel 65,420, 65,420, channel 0, and that like one dude, I think it's this guy,
Yeah, that
who
unmanned.
doesn't even who like he's only in the intro and he's like a jump scare when you turn the fucking game on. He
Oh
just
yeah,
shows
his
up.
fucking face, which I put in the thumbnail for this episode.
Yeah, like and he just asks you a question about like, what is, or he asks like this guy, like, what is the state authorized usage of harvesting what, like cabbage or something? And the guy just says, I'm not at liberty to say. And he's like, correct. Again, it's like I don't quite understand because there's like the before you use the 3DO system, capitalist lawyers wrote this stuff. Like,
this is
oh
this is so
God.
it's very 90s. Like it is
This feels very like high school level humor,
like
like just learning like what like authoritarian communism really is, when it's
yeah,
like there's clearly no actual nuanced political commentary here,
no.
because the difference between communism and capitalism is literally on the level that I learned in my government class in high school, where it's like, not to get too deep, but if you actually read about the differences between the two, you there's a lot more nuance there. It's not what the American government wants you to think. Anyways, so we go into that, and then we have our random ass host and spokesmodel. Our
Also,
sage black and white,
our announcer with he has no photo, just surveillance photo not available.
and his name is Ray Tolstoy.
Yes.
What a
Um
reference! What a fucking reference there.
yeah. The host, Bob Blaney, he is no twink. That's all I'm gonna
He,
say.
he of these games, this probably has the least memorable cast when it comes to the game show part.
Yeah,
Like the
because
host has like they're telling him to be zany, but he just doesn't have it in his bones.
yeah,
So
like
it just comes off as like your dad trying to be hip. It just does. And the spokes and the lady, you see her what, maybe twice?
yeah,
Like she's in the Dusty Roads polka dots,
see
but
in
she doesn't do anything.
because in Twisted, like you had Twink who was just on freaking crack the entire game and it was
Oh, he
great.
was great.
And
Yeah,
then
love
his
him.
I forget the name of his female assistant, but like she would like do like blow raspberries at you whenever you fucked up.
Yeah, yeah. Like they would always make sure to cut to her whenever Twink was saying something to the player. They would always cut to her so that she had her screen time as well. Whereas uh, Mashka, like I barely remember her.
She was just there to be fan service question
Capitalist
mark.
eye candy, because socialism is when no one hot.
Yeah, this cast is
I will say the cast of like player characters, I kind of like them actually. I think they're kind of like
they're
ridiculous. You have the one guy who's like trying to be like an American politician,
oh
and he does
Ziggy. Is it?
Ziggy, and he's like, "Oh, this is a nice country. It'd be a shame if something happened to it." And
Yeah,
like
and then
he's
he does like
like
the classic
Russian trying to be Italian, but trying to be American Italian.
he does the classic holding the puppy and he's like, it's be shame if something happened to this sweet puppy or something like that.
Like that was good. That was on point. We have Dr. Grushenka Rubel.
Who just
Uh,
straight up gets kidnapped and just thrown into the game, which is kind of funny.
yeah, that's pretty funny. Ludmilla, who is like the lady on the state rugby team. I believe that's her right there.
Yeah.
And I think they do the whole like, oh, she might be a man. I think they play into that, but whatever.
Yeah, a little not gonna touch that one.
Kind of. It's dumb, but this game
Yeah.
is dumb. And then we have Ivana, who is um the cellist who wants to be like a rock and roll star. As I said to Bill in our private chat, she could get it.
My
In
favorite
fact,
too is they asked us not to print her age, and then specifically says 23 years old.
Yeah, yeah. Let me read her bio because I want to read it. Ivana asked us not to print her age, 23 years, and not to mention her nervous breakdown, drug habit, or brother in jail. Instead, she wanted us to list her influences: Stone Temple Pilots, Skinny Puppy, and Sade. If she wins, the first place she's going to visit in America with a K is New York offices of MTV.
I've heard of one of those bands.
Well, we all know Stone Temple Pilots. I think Skinny Puppy is a real band.
They're actually, I'm thinking of Sick Puppies.
Yeah. Well, Sade is I'm sure you've heard like Smooth Operator. She's like an 80s female, like sophistopop kind of soul singer. Like she's got an amazingly gorgeous voice, and her records are fantastic. I'm a bit of a Sade fan. She's genuinely like fantastic. How I discovered her, we'll do a little sidetrack. How I discovered her was on the first MF Doom record, Doomsday, like the very first track samples one of her songs, and it samples a very specific kind of weird spot like near the end of the track that he did, which was her song called Kiss of Life, and kind of redoes the vocal hook over it as well, and it's really fucking cool. And then when I went back to actually listen to where the sample originated from, I'm like, that's an amazing song. And that whole record, I believe it's called Love Deluxe, is a fantastic record. Y'all should listen to that. It's a great record. So anyways, yeah, Sade, she's great. And yeah, Skinny Puppy, let me Google them real quick. A Canadian electro-industrial band formed in Vancouver in 1982. The group was among the founders of the industrial rock and electro-industrial genres. Thanks, Wikipedia. So this is probably a band that's like music nerds like myself would know, but they're probably like really influential on other bands. You know what I mean?
But then they just get overshadowed by Nine Inch Nails because every industrial band gets overshadowed by Nine Inch Nails.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of the issue with being like an innovator and being ahead of your time, is that people are going to kind of forget about you.
Yeah,
because you're laying the foundation that everybody kind of drives on, you know. And for some reason, their Wikipedia says Guantanamo Bay torture allegations. I'm like, what? And real quick, it has like two sentences. Skinny Puppy accused the U.S. military of using their music to torture inmates at the Guantanamo Bay detention camp without the band's knowledge or permission. In response, the band sent an invoice to the Pentagon.
That's interesting.
Already, I have a lot of respect for them. They're great.
That's up there with like just random footnotes in band's history. That's up there with like the Dave Matthews Band, Chicago's Little Lady Disaster. Anyone who knows that one.
Yeah, I unfortunately do. But if one of these 3DO games references Dave Matthews Band, we'll talk about it then.
Yeah. Oh boy.
Yeah, they're cool. I might actually check out their music. Anyways, our last character is Colonel Ivan Korpotikin. Is this the guy who wants to be Elvis?
I think so. He did not make it into my playthrough. I used everyone else but him.
Okay. Yeah, I think he was like the Elvis impersonator, because it references like Las Vegas and like just wanting to like kind of soak in all of the like Americanisms, I guess. Yeah, and he was just like doing Elvis stuff.
Yeah,
which I thought was, honestly, it made me laugh because I thought it was really silly.
It was okay. Like I like the characters. They're not as insane and memorable as like Twisted, because Twisted literally had a Pez dispenser as a character.
That's true. But like Twisted, like those characters are so off the fucking wall, and when you're playing the game, they're really just like mean mugging the camera and screaming at you. Yeah. That like it doesn't leave as good of an impression as it could say with these characters, because it feels like the contestants here actually have like personalities, even if they're not like, you know, deep. There's like enough there to hook you for like a game show. You know what I mean?
The thing with these ones is they don't really do anything when they're on screen until it's like an actual full motion cutscene dedicated to them.
Yeah, otherwise they're just dancing.
Yeah, because like I always remember like in Twisted, like when you were on the those character select screen, you had them all in the background going, pick me. Like,
Oh yeah, that was good. Yeah, pick me, pick me, pick me, pick me. Yeah, that stuff was good.
and they had all sorts of bizarre just like quirks to them, which honestly fit a game called Twisted more than I'd say this. But these guys, I did enjoy the full motion video in this game is pretty good. Like the way they seamlessly transition it between the graphics per se.
Yeah, yeah. It feels like the production value on these FMV game shows has increased over the three.
Mm.
So this one, it feels like the graphics are like better quality, and it feels like the art style is trying to be much more defined, and it doesn't look as green screened as the previous two. I mean, it still is, but it doesn't look as like kind of like ew
Yeah.
in that regard compared to the other two.
So getting into the gameplay now, this I'm not gonna lie, it took me a few rounds to kind of figure out exactly what was going on.
Yeah, so I think how it works is like when the contestant, it's their pick, they get presented three circles that have numbers revolving, right? And
Mhm.
you have to push the button, and then what those three numbers add up to is the points for that round. And then another player gets thrown in to like this weird like I think it's a 4x4 grid
It's either four by
where
four or 5x5.
yeah, it's one of the two. And one of the characters controls the x-axis and one controls the y-axis. So it's a 4x4, I think. It
Yep.
looks 4x4. Yeah, so like the contestant who picked the points is controlling the x-axis, and then the next one is the y-axis. And so you're trying to like pinpoint a spot on the grid for like either contestant can get like an instant win of the points, which is if
Mhm.
you want to breeze through the game, feel
Which
free
I
to do
thought was
that.
a bad thing the first couple of rounds because I didn't check what these actually meant, so I avoided that for like the first couple of rounds. And then after I tried all the mini games, I'm like, what does the face do? And it's like, you win. I'm like, oh, I could have just cheesed the fuck out of this, couldn't I?
It's how you breeze through the game, yeah. And then outside of that, you can choose from your four different mini games, which
Yes.
are unscrambling the picture, which I remember from
Yeah.
Twisted, like the little film clip. There's a memory matching game, just like Twisted. There's a guess the sound, like a audio memory
Lip
matcher,
service
lip
is what it was
service,
called.
which is also in Twisted, where it's like the president's heads.
Yes.
And then there's the what was the is it propaganda? Is that what it
So
was
there was
called?
propaganda, which is literally just communist trivia. Like,
Yeah, which was actually of all the mini games was the one that wasn't recycled because literally all the others were from the other games. Oh,
they
there's
were
the one with there's the one with the gears.
the gears and the hammer sickles, which I still could not figure out how I was supposed to win that.
Yeah, but like the trivia I actually thought was interesting because they asked some like pretty weird questions.
The my thing with that is that was interesting, but who would know the answers to these playing this like just randomly?
That's fair. Oh yeah, Troika was the one with the gears. Max three of the kind among the pieces available. Yeah, that one I didn't understand how it worked either because you
I
get
just
you get this grid of like two different kinds of like objects, and they'll have like say one of them or two of them or even three of them, and they would be like in various colors, and it's like try to match them or whatever. And yeah, I didn't understand what I was matching or whatever. So I
yeah,
did that. I did that one once and never did it again.
same. I did it just to see what it was, and I was just like, so I did it twice just because I thought maybe I fucked up the first time, but no, the second time I was still just as confused. Um, I did lip service once, and I was like, this is just it's a matching game, but it's annoying. So I'm only doing it once.
Yeah, and that one is from Twisted, as is the I Spy, which is just like a memory matching game. Like both of them
Yeah.
are the exact same.
But in Twisted, they were way more charming. Like in the
Yeah,
president's
they
one in
were.
Twisted, I
Oh,
still
that
remember
one's great.
when you pick both the presidents, they all of a sudden get like the deal with it shades, like before that was even a meme. I
Yeah,
was
yeah,
just
that's
like,
true. Yeah, that was like weirdly a '90s meme, like throwing on the shades. You know.
yeah.
Um, and yeah, so like yeah, Troika and Propaganda were the two unique ones for this because the unscrambling the picture is also from Twisted, and here it's called Yankee Stooge Cinema.
Yeah, I mean that's a breeze because all you have to do is make the
I hate it.
yeah, all you have to do is just do the edge, and then the center is easy enough.
Oh yeah, like it's not even scrambled at all.
Yeah. The I Spy pictures were somewhat interesting. Like there was like they were just bizarre. Like some of the choices for photos, I was like, this is weird.
Sorry, I was reading something in the manual. Capitalist agitator. Just good God.
Yeah.
Because there's a part in here that says the Department of Memory is occupied. I was like, what? And then it's talking about like, oh, you might need to delete save games to fill up in the 3DO. And it says, oh yeah, to do this, use your system's built-in storage manage utility or use one of the utilities on a 3DO interactive sampler CD.
Yeah, which is
So it
basically like
advertises memory management, but it itself does not have a memory manager.
yeah, it's like if you have an FC1, get fucked.
Basically.
Oh, did you also notice how when you start the game, they're like, we're gonna go over the rules for the game, and then they just kind of skip it and they're like, and that is the rules for the game. And I'm just like, yep, okay.
Yeah, yeah. It's like the home improvement SNES game. Real men don't need instructions.
Yeah.
Um,
I I will say the grid in multiplayer, I feel like that actually would be kind of fun. Like you're just fighting with the other player over what you're gonna get.
yeah, I agree. Especially if you tell the other person like, "Hey, if you land on that one, you'll just get the points," and then they'll try to like fight you on it.
Yeah.
That would be interesting. This is definitely a game that we both played alone in our rooms with two controllers, like fucking losers, right? So to
Yeah.
actually play this with other people, it probably is a stronger experience,
Mm.
you know. And also, I'd be curious to how it would work for the money go round, which is at the end of every round, you have that weird circular grid. There's the picture of it for the visual watchers. And so for the audio listeners, it's like this weird like circle that has various steps on it, and you have to go on them to get more money. So basically, if you step on, say, if you're the first contestant, you step on a white one and it turns green, you get the bunny. But of course, if you step on it again, the green goes away. It's almost like
Yeah.
this is like a weird, complicated Cubert.
Yeah. And like if you step on someone else's money, it goes away. And then but you don't get the money, which is interesting. You have to step
No.
on another space.
Yeah.
It's
So
kind of
like
like
you could sabotage the other player as well. It's very weird. And like in the direct center is like straight like a black hole or something. And I
yeah.
guess if you fall in it, you get another chance.
Yes. So the way it works is because I did this a couple rounds because I actually did find this somewhat fascinating, especially in it. Basically, this is another case of like this would be so much more interesting if you had four players. Um,
Yeah.
Basically, the way it worked, I found is like that score you get by doing the 3 gears thing at the start of every round. That is actually the time that you're going to get to do this mini game. So like the higher the number you build up, the more time you get inherently to do this. Because when you're on the money go round, you have a countdown timer. So like once the timer reaches zero, that's it. You can't do any more rounds.
Yeah. And so the points are essentially just giving you extra seconds.
Yeah, because you get 30 seconds at the start, like regardless, but then any extra points you accumulated during like the gameplay. And also the only way you have to keep your points are you have to win the mini games. Because if you lose the mini games, you don't get the points.
Exactly. So like as a game show, it has like a decent setup.
Mm.
At least like how it's structured, like isn't bad. But I just think it's just not very well executed.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
like I think the money go round and the grid thing as themselves they're kind of boring, but when you actually have four players, I feel like those could be really interesting and very like heated, like if you have a group
Yeah.
game going on.
Like
The
I think a way to improve the grid would be instead of having direct control over it, it's just like moving and you have to like push a button to stop it, like either slowly or like right on a dime to try to like time where you want it to go. like say both players are doing it at the same time.
Hmm.
So it's like a weird kind of like timing mini game to create more of like a random kind of challenge to it. So there's no cheesing in it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Um. Yeah, and it's weird too because like the game doesn't have like this like it doesn't have like an end game mode like the other ones did. It just kind of like once the
It
rounds are over, you just
it has 3 rounds and then that's it. Yeah,
yeah
like the first 2 rounds, the money go round spots are 1,000, and then the last one it's 1,500 for some reason,
yeah. It was
and then that's it.
very underwhelming. Like I feel like this one was kind of rushed in a lot of
Yeah,
ways.
yeah. Well,
Um.
it feels like for all these games, the issue was they weren't really focusing on the game aspect being something like kind of memorable and replayable. I think they were just hoping it would be strange and outlandish enough for people to want to stick with it and be like, "Oh, isn't this like this is so crazy I can't stop watching." You know, they're hoping that would kind of draw them in, but that only really works when you're not participating in it because when you're participating in it, that's when the flaws really show up.
Yeah. It's also the quickest of the three party games on 3DO because like Twisted and Station Invasion can drag like for a while, but they're at least in Twisted's case, it's always entertaining just because there's fucking insanity always going on. Station Invasion, once you get to end game, it's kind of like, will it end already? But this one just kind of ends, and you're like, oh, hmm,
Yeah, there's just a lot of stuff going on and but unfortunately I think for me, I don't know for you, it's probably of the game show games, it's probably the worst one.
yeah. Honestly, like I feel like we were a bit harsh on Station Invasion when we covered that. I mean, we honestly, I think I'd bump our rating for Twisted up honestly because like we both said okay for Twisted.
Yeah, I still stand by that. Maybe an okay plus, but compared to like the other two, Twisted is easily the best. Just because I think it's the most interesting from a gameplay perspective. It has enough random elements in it
Hmm.
to be kind of replayable. You know, um, like none of these are Mario Party, but it feels
No,
like Twisted is like the closest it comes to that. You know, because what makes Mario Party work so well is that yeah, it can be skill based, but it has just enough random elements to it to like cause the stir that it can cause and keep people wanting to go at it because it's not like a fighting game. Like once you're good at it, you're good at it. You know, like Mario Party. I mean, you can get good at the mini games, but that only takes you so far. You
hmm.
know, whereas these games they don't have that kind of skill attached to them. Like maybe a teeny bit, but Twisted is closest to the random elements of it being something kind of entertaining overall
Yeah,
compared to the other ones. And I don't know, Station Invasion, it might be more appealing to like it, to a very particular audience, you know, like kids who are like this the same age as these kids at that time. But we can't relive that obviously. So
no,
from our perspective, it was just kind of lame, dude.
yeah. I think the most entertaining part of Station Invasion was like, what's that smell? Like or whatever
Oh
they call.
yeah, yeah.
Because I think we went on a like a deep dive to try and find that kid on the internet.
That's right. We did, and we did find him.
We found someone who we think is him. We
I'm
never did.
pretty, I'm pretty sure it's him
Yeah.
because the pictures I saw look the exact same.
Oh man. Also fun. I just noticed the final page of the manual is like the staff that worked on the game, and they're called
I'm sta-
the
I'm
capitalists.
staring at it. Yeah, it's surveillance photo of capitalist agitators. So shouts out to these socialists here.
The lady in the
I
front
mean if they're
looks.
working, I mean if they're working in the games industry, there's a chance they're left leaning.
I mean, the girl in the front looks like she does not want to be there, and I kind of like that. Like she's like, I don't want to do this. I'm pretty sure that's the staff of Studio 3DO right there too, which would make
Oh
people sad.
yeah, yeah, absolutely, yeah. And yeah, and yes, kids, even girls worked on games back in the '90s.
Yep. Yes, they did.
This is what they have to show for it.
Yes, yep.
Not King's Quest. This.
No, that was another lady who had a much more successful career.
Yeah, shouts out to her. I forget her name.
Roberta Williams.
That's right, Roberta Williams. Her and her fucking moon logic puzzles. Anyways,
and she posted nude on the cover of Soft Porn Adventure.
Good for her. You know, show your stuff off, I guess. Yeah, I was looking through the credits to see if there was anything that really stuck out, and I didn't really see anything. I will say there's a character called Sitcom Wife that has the same last name as the director of the game, Einstein. And my first thought is, oh, is that like his wife? And maybe.
Yeah.
Because she's a special thanks on Twisted as well, because this game was directed and designed by one Jim Einstein, who has surprisingly a deep gameography on Moby Games. He has credits on like over 50 games, and a lot of it's like Transformers stuff and like the 360 Battleship game. Do you remember that game?
Oh yeah, the game where everyone was like, it's based off of the movie Battleship. Maybe they could do like a gritty version of the tabletop game. No, it's just some generic FPS.
Yeah, exactly. But he directed and designed. He directed Zhadnost People's Party and Twisted. Mm-hmm. So he is involved in both of those. I don't think he was involved in Club 3DO. At least according to what I've seen here, he didn't even get a credit on that.
I think Club 3DO was technically a different team within Studio 3DO.
Or Station Invasion, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah.
It probably was, because it definitely sticks out the most. Because this, I can see the direct connection to Twisted. Whereas I think Station Invasion is very different.
Mm. So, reception-wise for this game, it's pretty mixed. Like, Edge Magazine gave it a 3 out of 10. GamePro 17.5 out of 20. Next Generation 3 stars. 3DO Magazine didn't even like it that much. They gave it 3 stars. A lot of 70s, like a couple 4, like Strana IJR or IGR gave it 4 out of 10. Yeah, not the most. The general consensus was it makes a great party game, but wears thin too quickly, which is, to me, does that really make a great party game?
Yeah, not really. Apparently, its soundtrack got released commercially.
Oh yeah, we didn't really talk about the music. It's fine.
It's 90s rock music.
Yeah, it really is.
Like it sounds like incidental music you'd hear in like a sitcom from that time, where it's like kids having a party, man. Like that kind of shit, you know.
Apparently, it's the same guy that did like The Seventh Guest. Oh, he did Wing Commander, the first one. That's interesting.
Yeah, George Sanger,
known as the Fat Man.
Interesting.
I
mean, yeah, his list is pretty prolific. Like he did Zombies Ate My Neighbors, NASCAR racing.
Fuck yeah, a putt saves the zoo. Okay.
Pajama Sam 3. You are what you eat from your head to your feet.
Oh, he did SpongeBob SquarePants: Revenge of the Flying Dutchman. That poor man. Everybody
he saved it because he worked on the Intellivision Lives compilation.
Oh, that's cool.
That is actually pretty cool.
The
last credit he has is the 13th Doll, a fan game of The Seventh Guest.
Oh, that's kind of cool that he did the soundtrack for that.
Seventh Guest didn't come out in 3DO, did it?
I don't think so. I think that was was that a CDI game?
DOS, CDI, Mac, Windows, iOS, OS X, Linux, and Switch.
Yeah, no 3D.
God, everything's on fucking Switch these days. I've played Seventh Guest. I honestly didn't really care for it, but it didn't age as well as like Myst.
No, yeah, because it's in that same category as Myst. Myst just like
Myst is great. I fucking love
Yeah,
Myst. But like Seventh Guest is a game from that era that it's just not unique or interesting enough to really carry it. Like for
yeah,
its time, it was probably fantastic. But by modern standards, doesn't hold up. And with Myst, like Myst is such a I mean, we'll Myst did come out in 3DO, so we can
yeah. So
eventually deep dive into that one. But there is like a full on remake of the game now where I think it's called Real Myst, where you can
yep,
like actually interact with the world and all that stuff, which is
yep.
definitely the one to get these days.
It also had an infamous parody game known as Pissed, which is just kind of funny too. Which has John Goodman in it of all things. Like it is such an interesting.
He'll do anything for a buck.
Yeah, I mean, and that was the '90s too. He was still kind of relevant then.
Yeah.
But yeah. So must play. Okay, stay away. I mean, it's pretty obvious. Stay away on this one,
Yeah. I would say stay away on it as well.
especially for the price, because this, unlike Twisted and Station Invasion, this is not a cheap game. It's like
Well, $20.
20 bucks. I mean, that's still for this. I wouldn't want to pay 20 for that.
No, I forget what I paid for the other two. I don't think I paid that much for the other two. I'd
I
have to check my eBay listings.
I think I paid $5 at a retro store for Station Invasion, like $10 for a long box of Twisted. So
Yeah, I'd have to like go through to see what I paid for, but I don't know how much. Hold on. Let's see. You can edit this out.
oh, while you're saying that, I actually did notice on the cover, it actually does say a minimum of 2 controllers required.
Yeah, and also that dude, the black and white dude on the cover, he never shows up in the game, does he?
No, he's literally just there, I think, for shock value.
Like he's just there to be like, oh, brutal, like, evil Russian man. But like he's as far as I know, he's not in the game at all.
No. Oh, I just also noticed too on the back, there's a little thing. You can barely see it there, but it says music produced by the Fat Man.
the
That's kind
fat
of cool.
the fat cat. Okay, let's see. Station Invasion, I paid 25.80 for.
Okay.
And Twisted, I paid 24.88 for. And
So they've gone up a bit.
Twisted was like in the long box with the manual and everything. And yeah, Station Invasion was the jewel case with the manual. And then for this one, what did I pay for this one? I didn't get that when I looked by it. I paid 30.08.
Yeah, that's
So it is
more
still
than
the most expensive of the bunch.
yeah, that's more I'd pay for it because this is not not a great game. It's shocking and somewhat interesting at glance, but once you actually play it, you realize it's a very half baked and honestly unremarkable party game.
Yeah, I'd say if you want any of the 3DO game show games, just go for Twisted. Like
Yeah,
get Twisted, play through that once or twice, have a good laugh, and then you can just move on.
yeah, and I mean Twisted at least too. Like you have the benefit of like say you miraculously have 4 controllers and 4 friends that want to play that game. You can have a nice entertaining party just watching people's reactions to like what the fuck is going on.
Well, when we eventually do the Super Pod meetup, we should make two of them play this with us.
I'll bring a 3DO and a
in a
copy of
bucket,
Twisted.
like in a goddamn backpack. That'd be great.
Yeah. Oh boy. But yeah, so I think next week we had said we were gonna try to do Starblade.
Yeah, let's do Starblade.
Okay. I'm interested in a Japanese made game. I think that's the first one we've done on the show so far.
I think so. Yeah, because there is some Japanese games on here, but
Hmm.
the 3DO has a weird fascination in Japan.
Yes, it does. And I'm actually looking forward to checking out some of the more Japan exclusive games at some point.
That would be good. And yeah, why I'm interested in Starblade for the visual viewers of the show, it's this right here.
Hmm.
Nam.
Namco.
It says Namco, and I do like me some Namco. So
Yeah. Before they became Bamco.
I don't mind Bamco.
I'm a Tails fan, so I have a deep vendetta against Bamco.
I'm a Klonoa fan. You think I'd hate him even more?
Yeah, but they don't like Klonoa is like they at least try with Klonoa. Like the Tails series is like they don't even give a shit, and then they're just like, why don't people like it?
Well, hey, maybe they'll finally do that Tales of Abyss remake, and then it'll solve all the problems.
And then me and Chris will be the only ones that buy it, and then
Honestly, I'd buy it on your guys' recommendation alone. So,
But yeah, speaking of Chris, we should also remember to shout out all of our great friends over at the Superpod Network. Let's see if I can remember everyone this time. We got the Superpod Saga, Super Ghost Radio, Retro Rehab, A Novel Console, Remember 64, Bar Silence, The Elder Trolls, Friday Night Gamecast, Gaming Together, Fine Time, uh, Tommy. I'm sorry, I can't remember the name of your show, but his road trip show.
Tommy's video game ride along.
There we go. And then the three GNC shows. I believe that's everybody.
I believe that is correct.
Nice. I got everyone. Yeah, definitely check everyone out there, though. Go check out the Superpod Network website. We got all sorts of blogs, video content, a whole bunch of fun stuff's coming out there. And
Speaking of Klonoa, I am currently writing a review for the website about a Klonoa Moonlight Museum for the Wonder Swan. So
nice.
Hopefully that'll be out sometime this week.
Nice. Be sure to check that out. And with that, everybody, you can find us on pretty much all the podcasting platforms. You can find all of our links at linktree/thebarberwhogames. And you can follow us at the podcast. My brain just died there for a minute. You can find us over at the GNC Podcast Network Discord server if you want to talk all sorts of weird bullshit. And with that, everybody, we will see you all later.
Bye-bye.